Dudes talking very confidently about what AI even is and what these machines are doing.
Yeah.
What can we confidently say? What can we be skeptical about? And how big is the I don't know delta? Because that's where I think there is just a huge I don't know, and that delta is like massive. Literally why the show's called Hassan Namash Doesn't Know. Like, there's a lot I don't know. So you tell me, where we at? Because you seem to be very measured in your approach with this.
Yeah, so I think we kind of have to do a little bit of a history lesson.
Yeah.
So apologies in advance.
Sure,
but
sure.
AI has been around for a really, really long time. It was founded as a research field in 1956 at Dartmouth University by a group of professors and researchers. And the original intent was to recreate human intelligence in computers. Also, when the term artificial intelligence was coined, it was specifically coined by this assistant professor at Dartmouth called John McCarthy, who years later said, I invented this term because I needed money. So they were trying to get funding for work that they were actually already doing under a different name. And I think this is kind of a really key point for understanding the craziness of AI discourse today. First of all, there's just so much anthropomorphization of this technology because of that original pegging of this field to the idea of intelligence. And the problem with doing that is there's no scientific consensus around what human intelligence is. So if you're trying to recreate that in computers, you're going to run into a lot of problems where how do you measure if you've done that? What is the basis of our intelligence? And therefore, how do you recreate it? What should it look like? Who should it serve?
Yeah, I love that, and we were chatting before this interview started. I was with the team, and we were talking about this idea of when technology comes out, it is always given this human interface.
Yes.
And the joke that I had was, I don't know if you remember in the 80s and 90s, there were all these movies about like, if you turn the TV on, the TV's gonna suck you in. Or Tron, hey, you're gonna enter the mainframe. In technology, in humans, there's always this thing of, oh, they have to be like us, when in reality you're like, hey, this is just a bunch of wires and copper and microchips. It is not a human being, it doesn't have a soul. So I take your point of, there is no consensus around what does it mean to be an intelligent human, or what does human intelligence even mean. I'll tell you this, there's not a lot of intelligent humans I know. So I totally understand why you're like, there is no consensus.
There's no consensus.
Yeah, that's a wild joke. But correct me if I'm hearing this right, you're saying a lot of times this idea of human intelligence is given the framing of, oh, it beat a human being at chess.
Right,
or it can do this Excel model faster than a human being.
Exactly.
But does that mean, is that the totality of human intelligence?
Exactly.
Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's like, okay, it can do certain tasks better than humans, but what's the significance of that? And ultimately, what OpenAI as a company tries to do is create this rhetoric where when you recreate human intelligence, which apparently they are going to do soon, so they say, that it's somehow going to have, profound utopic consequences. We are going to have so much abundance in the world, so much prosperity in the world, that this intelligence is going to help us solve cancer, it's going to help us solve climate change, and that is based in, a fiction of how this technology actually works.
The book is obviously called Empire of AI. Why is AI like an empire? How is it like an empire? And like most empires, when will it start bombing brown countries?
So, in the history of European colonialism, empires of old had several features to them. They laid claim to resources that were not their own, but they redesigned the rules to suggest that they were their own. They exploited a lot of labor. They didn't pay that labor, or they paid that labor very little. And empires were always in competition with each other. So the British Empire was always saying, we are better than the Dutch Empire.
The button
And the
and
French
take the
Empire
parking
was like, we
ticket.
are better than the British Empire. So there was this concept that there were evil empires and there were good empires. And the reason why the good empires had to be empires is because they needed to take down the evil empire. They needed to be strong. So that's why they're extracting all these resources. They're exploiting all this labor to fortify themselves. And they're doing it ultimately under the civilizing mission of, we are doing this for the benefit of all of humanity. We are actually bringing religion to all of these heathens and giving them an opportunity to access heaven instead of hell. Empires of AI not only literally use this rhetoric now, but they check off all of the characteristics of empire building. They lay claim to resources like the intellectual property of artists, creators, writers, and then they redesign the rules to say, well, this is actually fair use to train our AI models on this. And then they exploit a lot of labor, both in that they contract workers in primarily global south countries, going to the brown countries, and paying them very, very little amounts of money to take out toxic, abusive, sexist, racist speech out of their models, and also in the sense that they are ultimately creating labor automating machines. So the definition that OpenAI officially uses for AGI is highly autonomous systems that outperform most humans in economically valuable work.
Got it. Okay, so things that drive shareholder value.
Exactly.
Okay, sure.
And so you can imagine if a worker is going to the bargaining table and sitting across from a CEO, and both of them think, wait a minute, if I resist, or wait a minute, if that guy resists, I can just hire an AI instead. That worker can't bargain for rights anymore. So that's the labor exploitation that's happening under empires of AI. And they have this aggressive